Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So you might be wondering why we're watching raindrops in a puddle. And one good reason is I enjoy watching raindrops in puddles. I like the patterns that they make, the randomness. So I just thought I'd share that with anybody that's watching this video. When I upload the video, it'll be interesting to see in the analytics afterwards how many people stopped watching the video within the first, say, 10 seconds. If you are still with me, well, thank you for sticking with me. And I'm going to assume that you're also a fan of raindrops and puddles. The raindrops are not completely random. We'll sort of come back to those later on in the video. This video is going to be similar to the last video I did. You're going to watch me painting a watercolor landscape, but at the same time I'm going to sort of tell you a story, or at least I'm going to tell you about the last couple of years in my life, what I've been trying to do, and sort of why I decided to try and do it. So it's really a story about quitting a job with the hope of becoming a professional artist, or at least making a living doing something more creative. So in that last video I talked about how I got back into art as an adult, and that was mainly through cartooning, which then led into drawing and painting and things. Maybe, I don't remember if I mentioned it, but I kind of fell back out of art again. So for at least 10 years, maybe more, prior to 2019, I had done absolutely no art. And I mean absolutely nothing, not just painting, but I hadn't even picked up a pencil to do any drawing or sketching or anything. So I'd really fallen completely away from art. And then for some reason that I don't know, in 2019, specifically the weekend around St. Patrick's Day, I decided to get back into art. And it was very much out of the blue. I have no idea why I did it. It was just, if you like, a little voice in my head saying, you should go and do some art. Now, not surprisingly, St. Patrick's Day is a national holiday in Ireland. A lot of people have an extra day off. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And certainly at that time I was in an office job, and a lot of office workers will get that day off. It's like, I don't know, I suppose, Christmas Day or Thanksgiving in America or something. It's quite a big holiday. So I had a long weekend, 3 or 4 days, and as I decided to get back into art. I had an old canvas that was perfectly good condition. It was still in the plastic wrapper. I had some brushes, and I had some old acrylic paint. Most of the paint was still in reasonable condition, which is quite surprising after 10 years, but it was still workable. Some of it had turned into, I don't know, a strange consistency, something like peanut butter. So it wasn't really usable, but most of the colors were, and I was able to create a painting. Now the painting itself was not very good. That's not surprising. After more than 10 years of not doing art, I couldn't really expect to produce a great painting. So the painting itself was terrible, but I really enjoyed the process of creating the painting. And that's kind of more important in the long run. Now I decided I didn't want to do acrylic painting. I wanted to try something completely different. And since I was essentially starting art from scratch almost, after such a long break of not doing it, I thought this was a perfect time to try something completely new. So I got some watercolor paints, watercolor paper and brush. And I'd seen some watercolor landscapes and things on Pinterest and YouTube and other places, and I really liked them, so I thought, okay, I'll try this watercolor. And the way I sort of learn is kind of learning by doing. So I did have a goal, if you like, in my head. I knew what I wanted to create, and I wanted to create something that was loose and impressionistic, maybe even slightly abstract. That was my goal, and then really all I had to figure out was how to actually do that. 2 years later, I'm still working on how to do that, but I think I'm closer to the goal than I was 2 years ago. I think art is one of those things. It's like music, or it's no matter how long you've been doing it, you're still learning. You're still building your experience and improving your abilities. It's kind of a never-ending thing. Now, as for quitting my job, that was about 6 months later. It was in August of 2019. It didn't come out of the blue entirely. It had been building up. I was really unhappy in the job that I did, which is not surprising. I saw a report recently where it said that I think 80% of people, this was talking about people in the US, but I think it's common in other countries as well, 80% of people were unhappy in their jobs. And certainly thinking back all the jobs I've done, that statistic may be quite accurate. But anyway, I was really unhappy in the job. I really hated it. And it was beginning to have a negative impact on my mental health, I think. So I decided that something had to be done. Now, most people would maybe change jobs, but I had changed jobs several times. I was working in IT, sort of corporate IT, and I'd tried 3 different companies, and each one ended up being the same. I wasn't happy, so simply quitting that job and finding another job, I didn't think that would solve the problem. Within 6 months or a year, I'd be back where I started again. So something more drastic had to be done. And I decided a number of things. First of all, I wanted to work from home. Working in the office didn't suit me. It was kind of this may be an exaggeration, but it felt, if you've ever read the book or seen the movie 1984, that sort of dystopian society and work environment and things, that's what it felt like to me. Sitting in an office with artificial light at an uncomfortable seat and desk, staring at a computer for 8 or 9 hours a day, and sort of starting it off, I only lived about 10 miles from the office, but on a bad morning, it took an hour and a half to get in there. Most mornings it was almost an hour to commute with the traffic. And then the evenings weren't just about, it was still about 45 minutes to get back home. So when you add that all together, it was just a very, at best, boring, more usually depressing sort of lifestyle. So I wanted to work from home, and then I could control the environment that I was working in and be a more creative environment, not just beige concrete walls and artificial lighting. If possible, I really wanted art to be a part of what I was doing, but I very quickly realized that it's difficult / almost impossible to make a living as an artist, especially in the early days. If anybody asks me, can you make money from art? I would say absolutely yes, you can. I don't care what style of art you do or what subject matter or what skill level you have. There will be people out there who would love your art, and a percentage of those people would be willing to pay for your art, be able to pay for your art, and to support you and to collect your artwork. But for that to happen, they have to know that you even exist. So you've got to put your art out there. So if anybody was asking for advice, what I would say, what I didn't do and what I wish I had done was hang on to your job for another 6 months, 12 months if you can. Spend the weekends creating art and also putting your art out on social media and things, and start building an audience, start building awareness so that people can see your art, and hopefully some of the people who see it will be the people who would love to collect your art and to support you as an artist. Now, if I was going to give any advice to any new artist, I think that's the most useful advice I can give. For me, I've also broadened things out a bit, so I'm trying to do some writing. I might do some editing and things. It helps to bring in a little bit of money. And it gives me enough time that I can still work on the painting and improving my skills and things. And in terms of the raindrops, the reason for the raindrops is kind of, I also wanted a working environment where I could just get up and take 10 minutes and go out and look at the clouds or look at raindrops in a puddle. Just that sense of freedom that you usually don't have if you work in an inner city office. And a lot of the companies I worked for, if you got up and walked out, you have to explain to your boss what you're doing, why you're away from your desk, etc., etc. I wanted an environment where I had a bit more freedom. Okay, well, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching and listening to me. This is the scan of the final painting. I was happy with this one. It's quite loose compared to some of the other recent ones, but I like the simple colours, the limited palette. It's a bit abstract, very loose, so I was happy with this painting. If you'd like to subscribe, just click on the big red button below. I think you also have to click the bell icon. I'm not sure what it does, but people say you have to do it. And hopefully see you in the next video.